Welcome to the interior of the historic Jackson Street Roundhouse on St. Paul's East Side. Do you recognize this old locomotive? You might have seen it with Casey Jones standing in front of it, at least if you're as old as I am, during the old Casey Jones children's television show. Currently, this locomotive is under restoration by the Minnesota Transportation Museum. But let's take a look inside what we call Bay B, one of 4 maintenance bays of the historic Jackson Street Roundhouse. This facility was built back around the turn of the 20th century by railroad pioneer and philanthropist James J. Hill. It was the primary service and maintenance facility on the eastern flank of the former Great Northern Railway. Imagine all of the trains that came out of this facility and traveled across the prairies and the mountains to the great Pacific Northwest. Think of the importance of those pieces of railway history and the importance they had on developing commerce and the economic infrastructure that makes Minnesota what it is today. We are currently using the facility as the original purpose designed it, as a maintenance facility for railroad equipment. For example, here's the Great Northern 454A undergoing a complete restoration. You might remember this locomotive sitting over at Bandana Square for many, many years. Well, today it is owned by the Minnesota Transportation Museum, and with the good work of our volunteers, it will be completely restored and likely be setting sail on the rails for Union Depot in just a few years. Something that's really exciting though, this particular part of the Minnesota Transportation Museum of the Jackson Street Roundhouse has been planned for many, many years to become an exhibit for the 3 steam locomotives, Northern Pacific steam locomotives, that we currently have stored under shelter elsewhere on the property. In addition to that, we are receiving an incredible gift from the great-grandson of James J. Hill. James Hill III had located, purchased, and is donating his great-grandfather's personal business coach that James J. Hill traveled the Great Northern Railroad and conducted the business that helped build the state of Minnesota. What happened here is so important because it's the history of commerce and the history of the economy and the culture of St. Paul. This roundhouse is so significant because of the thousands of people who worked in here over the course of history and helped build this great city. We intend to tell those stories. But here's the thing, this particular part of the facility, Bay B, is designed to become the exhibit for the steam equipment and the James Hill business coach. But this particular part of the museum, as well as most of the rest of it, needs some serious rehabilitation and restoration. For example, the roof, as you can see, is very, very old. And yes, it leaks. We can't have water dripping on historic pieces of railway equipment that are literally priceless. And the clear story windows that once shone bright light into this facility as railroad workers maintained this great equipment, most of those are covered up and only a little bit of light is still peeking through. Those all need to be replaced so light can once again shine in here to enhance the exhibit of the locomotives and the A18 that are designed to be here. So all of this work takes some dollars, and we are seeking dollars phase by phase by phase to inch our way towards restoration of this part of the museum within the next 2 years so that the locomotives and the A18 will have a permanent and world-class new home. We welcome any and all support. We know this is going to take time, but if you can support us in at least one aspect of this great restoration project, it will be a gift to the city of St. Paul that will be treasured for generations to come.